So much of people pleasing is trying to prevent other people from being disappointed or upset so that we can avoid discomfort, so that we don't have to feel guilty or feel like we're bad. It's no longer your job to manage their discomfort. This is such a slow and hard practice, but in doing so, we're just creating a distinction between what emotion is mine and what emotion is yours.
Happy Wednesday, friends. I'm Michael Kovnat, and this is the Next Big Idea Daily. Quick masterclasses from the best new books written and read by the authors themselves. Don't forget to sign up for our free newsletter using the link in the episode notes. So if you're like me, you've probably spent too much of your time asking yourself this question. Are they mad at me? Yes, most of us worry about what others think of us, and while this is probably a useful survival instinct in some cases, it can also turn into a kind of neurotic rumination, leading us to prioritize people-pleasing over our own needs. Why we do this and how we can move past it is the topic of the new book, Are You Mad at Me? How to Stop Focusing on What Others Think and Start Living for You by psychotherapist Meg Josephson. Our curator, Adam Grant, says the book is a cure for chronic people-pleasing. Now here's Meg to share her big ideas.
Hi, my name is Meg Josephson. I'm a licensed psychotherapist and the author of the book, Are You Mad at Me? How to Stop Focusing on What Others Think and Start Living for You. Today, I'm going to share with you 5 key insights from my book. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy. Insight number 1. People-pleasing isn't a personality trait. It's a common trauma response. I grew up in a home that was quite volatile. There were certainly loving moments, but there was also lots of yelling and addiction, and I had to be on high alert a lot of the time. And this question of, are you mad at me, was really protective. Being sure that my dad wasn't mad at me kept me safe. When I left home, I noticed I was still hypervigilant, but just in a different form. Monitoring my dad's moods now turned into thinking I was going to get fired anytime my boss said, "Can we chat?" I walked around with the feeling that I was always about to get in trouble. Learning about people-pleasing as a trauma response is really what made everything make sense for me. We have 4 responses to a threat: fight or flight, which you may be familiar with, freeze, and the 4th one is fawn. The fawn response is what I think is the most common yet least recognized threat response, and it's about appeasing the threat, trying to be liked by it, satisfying it, trying to impress it. The fawn response says, my safety comes from pleasing you, and in order for me to be safe and loved, I need to do more, and I need to know you approve of me. Fawning isn't a bad thing. It's a brilliant, unconscious safety mechanism, often learned in childhood if you grew up in a tense, volatile, or critical home environment. But it's also, of course, a very socialized behavior as well, especially for marginalized groups, where needing to be liked and approved of can be necessary to survive in our society. Sometimes we need to fawn. But when we fawn as our default way of being, that's when it becomes exhausting and manifests as chronic people-pleasing, overextending ourselves, overthinking social interactions, feeling anxious when someone puts a period instead of an exclamation point, and feeling like we don't know who we are because we've spent so long being hypervigilant of what others want and need. Insight number 2. Awareness is the most important part of healing. In my private practice, a lot of people come in with a sense of urgency, like, tell me what to do, just fix it for me. And for the record, this was me when I was 20 going to my first therapist, and I said to her, why do I always think people are mad at me? I thought she would take one look at me and just tell me what to do, and I'd be on my merry way. Healing is slow and subtle and ongoing. Awareness is our best tool. What's important to know is that when we react, we're usually doing so from an old place. Something about this situation is reminding our bodies of a past situation, and so we're reacting in a way that has once kept us safe. Anytime we can just pause before we immediately react in a way that we usually do, like over-apologize or over-explain ourselves because we don't want the other person to misunderstand us, just pause. Take a second. A pause is a people pleaser's best friend. By doing so, we're bringing this unconscious pattern into the conscious mind, and all that means is we're noticing an old protective pattern that used to keep us safe, and we get to decide, do I need to be doing this right now, or am I actually safe? How does my present self want to respond? Even if we do react in an old way, no need to add a layer of shame, because by virtue of us being aware of it, we're already doing something different. Insight number 3. The 3 Ps. Nothing is personal, nothing is perfect, and nothing is permanent. For the sake of time, I'm just going to dive into the first one. Nothing is personal, which means that we are all behaving and reacting through the lens of our own inner world, which is made up of our fears, beliefs, past experiences. Nothing is personal doesn't mean we're never taking feedback or aren't open to constructive criticism. What it means is we're being selective about who we're taking that feedback from. When we've been stuck in the fawn response, our minds have been trained to be hypervigilant of what's happening externally. People's reactions, their facial expressions, did they laugh at my joke? Are they mad at me? And remember, this is a survival mechanism, so we're only supposed to be in it for a few minutes at a time. But for many of us, especially women, it's as natural as breathing. When we're in this state for years or a lifetime, we completely lose connection with ourselves, with who we are, what we need, and what we want. So instead of asking, do they like me? We can ask, do I like them? Instead of asking, what should I do to make them like me? The practice can be, how can I move through the discomfort of them not liking me? We can't truly know ourselves and be liked by everyone at the same time. Insight number 4. You're not responsible for managing other people's emotions. For many people who are drawn to this question of, are you mad at me? Like me, they have historically found safety through managing other people's moods. I know for me, being perfect and an overachiever, being a relentlessly positive person, even if it felt like I was sometimes performing, was really helpful growing up. It was kind of the one thing in my control to keep the peace. So that was necessary then. But when we do this all the time, when we do it when we don't need to be, it's exhausting. What I've come to realize and what I work on with clients is that we cannot manage people's moods or reactions. All we can control are our own words, our breath, where our focus is. When we're stuck in a fawn response, we're enmeshed with the other person's emotions. If they don't feel regulated, we can't feel regulated. So much of people-pleasing is trying to prevent other people from being disappointed or upset so that we can avoid discomfort, so that we don't have to feel guilty or feel like we're bad. It's no longer your job to manage their discomfort. This is such a slow and hard practice, but in doing so, we're just creating a distinction between what emotion is mine and what emotion is yours. I call this practice leaning back in our relationships, which doesn't mean we're being passive or careless. It's releasing urgency, releasing a need to control, letting ourselves preserve some energy where we'd normally be overextending ourselves energetically. We're not leaving the room. We're just leaning back so that we can see the situation and the relationship more clearly and see what's in our control and what's not. Insight number 5. Practice taking in small, bite-sized pieces of discomfort. I've been meditating daily for over 10 years now. When I first started, I couldn't do it for more than a minute. I had so much agitation and tension in my body, sitting there felt unbearable. And forcing myself through 20 minutes when I couldn't get through one was just not the path to take. Because so much of this healing work is about cultivating a sense of internal safety, we wouldn't want to do something super scary to start, like set a boundary with someone we're terrified of, because it may not go great, and then our body will be like, see, this is why I people please, take me back to my familiar ways. Similarly, if someone came into therapy and had a lot of unprocessed trauma, we wouldn't start by diving headfirst into their most traumatic memories. We'd go slowly and make sure they felt safe along the way. This is what I like to call dipping our toes in discomfort, because if it feels like too much, we can come back out. What we're doing is slowly increasing our tolerance for discomfort. With every instance where we can acknowledge that we're uncomfortable but still safe, we're giving new evidence to this younger part of ourselves that has learned to people please. We're showing this part, you can be judged and still be safe. You can be misunderstood and still be safe. Someone can be mad at you and you can still be safe. So if a client is trying to be with their emotions or anxious thoughts, instead of sitting with those emotions or thoughts for 10 minutes, maybe we'd sit with them for 30 seconds. And as they're sitting with that anxiety, maybe we're also noticing any sounds in the room or all the things in the room that are green, so their body still knows that they're here and not stuck in that memory or that past time. And if a client wanted to practice boundaries, maybe we'd start with someone that feels safe, like telling their best friend, you know what, I only have 30 minutes to chat, or I actually don't feel like drinking tonight. Each time you do this, each time you dip your toes in discomfort, you're building self-trust, and you're showing this younger part of you that maybe learned, I need to be perfect and easy to be loved. You're showing this part, you're allowed to have needs, and you can still be safe.
Thank you, Meg. Okay, everyone, you can get a copy of Are You Mad at Me using the link in the episode notes. That's our show for the day. If you got something out of it, please leave us a 5-star rating and a glowing review so others can find it too. And go to nextbigideaclub.com to find out about our hardback subscription club, where we send you the best new nonfiction books right to your door, as chosen by our curators Malcolm Gladwell, Adam Grant, Susan Cain, and Daniel Pink. And you can use the code DAILY for a 20% discount. That's nextbigideaclub.com and use the code DAILY. I'm Michael Kovnat. See you tomorrow.